Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday morning. Of course, a week from Saturday is the big shoot down in Tennessee. Hope to see everybody down there. I thought this morning I'd do a little quick video on Cant bars. I've had a couple guys ask me about those. I'll show you a couple that I've made for my guns. It might help you make your own or give you some ideas. The first one here is the one on my mule ear, and I just cut a piece out of walnut, of course. Now, I've got a bandsaw and I got all that, but hand fitting an optic and barrel to a piece of wood takes a lot of work. So I get really close on that, as you can see. Then what I do is I bed that with body filler, Bondo. If you just rub some car wax or Johnson's paste wax on your barrel, it won't stick to it. And then form you up a couple of little dams on either side of it and sink your barrel, clamp it. Takes about 10 minutes for it to set up enough you can just lift the barrel out. You can see you get a very good fit on that. And you want a good fit on that. You don't want a loose Cant bar. That's not good. So that's how that works. I always put a piece of just junk steel that's laying under the workbench or something on the bottom. I don't like to have the wood being rubbed in the truck or on the chunk or anything like that. So I always just put a little piece of junk steel on the bottom or aluminum, whatever you got laying around. Keep from wearing a hole in it. Now, what I do on these are, you can see how this works. When it's up on the barrel, you tighten these down, it locks it in place. These are nothing more than bolts I had laying around the shop. Made a piece of aluminum, put some leather on it. I pinned these because if you epoxy only, at some point in time, this will probably start turning. So I drilled through it and put a pin in it. But those just work like that. And then that goes up on the 245 flats off the top flat. These are all thread connectors. I just kind of purdied them up a little bit, turned them on the lathe, cross drill them and put a pin in it to give you something to grab a hold of to tighten it up. Works pretty good. And it looks kind of neat rather than just buying a wing nut at the hardware store or whatever. So that's how those work. This one is off of my 14-pound gun. We got a chute here at home. It's the only one. Matter of fact, best we can figure out, it's the oldest continuous over the log chute in America. It's the chute at Fort Bologna that Colton Fleetwood puts on. And it has a 14-pound limit. That goes back to, in the early days when they started that chute, a lot of the guys were shooting buffalo matches at Friendship. That has a 14-pound limit on the gun. I'm sure that's why that 14 number is stuck there. But anyway, we're not going to change it because we think it's kind of fun, it has a lot of character, and it's been that way forever, and it ought to be that way forever. I do the same thing with it. I just cut it out as close as I can. This one's 1 1/8 barrel. I cut it out as close as I can, Bondo it, so it's a good fit. It's being a smaller chunk, I use 1/4-inch bolts instead of 5/16. Now, these are, those are 38 caliber bullets, or what they are. The gun, I want as much weight on that chunk out there as I can, because a 14-pound gun, 54 caliber 14-pound gun, the recoil can be a bit hard to handle because the gun wants to jump around quite a bit. So what I did, I kept adding these until that gun hit 14 pounds, period. And I've even got some under this plate right here. That way I've got that weight out there at the muzzle, so the muzzle's not jumping any more than it has to. What turned me on to that was Ethan Yazel done a video at that shoot, and I had just a little Cant bar in their time, just a couple of little pieces of steel coming out and setting on the chunk. In that video, when you slow it down, you can see that gun torque upwards and literally come up off of the chunk. That's not good. So as much as you can control the recoil, try and do it. And one way to do that is weight down the muzzle. But that's the chunk for it. Again, on like I showed on this one, I put a plate on the bottom so that it doesn't wear the wood out. The Cant bars are something, if you're going to shoot, if you got a dedicated gun, or even if you don't have a dedicated gun, try to get a Cant bar for it. Yes, you can use sandbags, obviously. Here's my thinking on the Cant bars, though. I've seen some of the old guns that were integrated. They had integrated Cant bars. I'll use this as an example. They just had a flat spot out on the forearm. And hold on, I'll show you. I'll get a piece of wood and I'll show you. Okay, so I've seen a lot of them. They just had a flat spot on the out on the forearm, and then of course the barrel would be like right here. Well, see, the whole idea of a Cant bar is to keep it from canting. When you've got a narrow Cant bar, here's what you got. Which is better, this or this? So I like those Cant bars to be wide, and they don't have to be stupid wide, but they can be wide. I think you're going to be much happier with the way your gun shoots if you've got a Cant bar that doesn't want to move around like this instead of moving around like this. So if you can do it, if you're blessed to have a mill or access to a mill and you know how to use a mill, you can make all kinds of different Cant bars for it. Like if you took a piece of barrel like this, you can drill and tap, mount it to your barrel out there on a half-stock gun. That's quite easy to do if you've got access to all the good tools. If you're in a full stock gun situation, you can still do a Cant bar like these. Just wrap a little clear cellophane or something around the wood and everything before you park it down in that Bondo to let it cure, because you sure don't want to run any Bondo up around your ramrod or anything like that, because then you got a bit of a problem. But you can make a Cant bar for a full stock gun that locks up nice and tight, and it'll serve you quite well. I think that'll be it for the Cant bar. Like I said, I'll see everybody week from Saturday down in Tennessee. I'll just say it now. I hope to see you there. Going through something right now. My mother's in her last days, and we don't know when that's going to be. And I sure hope I'm able to get to New York, but you know how that goes. So anyway, we'll see you when we see you. Thanks, guys.